Hello everybody, I'm William Branch, your Texas local lender. Today we're going to talk about online lenders versus a local lender. Why should you use them? What's the difference? How can we help you purchase a house and make it a seamless process? Today we're going to talk about why should I use a local lender versus one of the online lenders, whether it's Rocket Mortgage or one of the big banks. What is the difference? So for one, let's just start out that working with a local lender, they're going to be somebody that's going to have your back at your best interest at every step of the process. So for the first step of obtaining a mortgage, buying a home is already stressful enough. So supplying your documentation, all these big companies, they have all these online and quick pre-approvals and all that stuff. What does that mean? Do you even know what goes into that process? You can submit an application and all of a sudden have a quick approval with Rocket Mortgage. And it's like, how does that even happen? Like, they haven't even looked at your documentation. So you're telling me like your information that you provided, you may be self-employed and you've told them that you make 10 grand a month, when on paper you may not. And they've given you a pre-qualification or a pre-approval right from the get-go just because you submitted an application. Sounds great, but the grand scheme of things, most likely it's going to cost you money, it's going to cost you heartache, lots of trouble and tribulation throughout the process. It's going to be a rocky road as we get going. So let's just take, for example, that you are that self-employed borrower. So what are the steps for us as a lender to look at to make you a qualified income versus a stated income? So as of right now, you've told them that you probably do bring in $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 a month, but we also have expenses on those tax returns. So that lender most likely has not even reviewed those returns. You have this pre-qualification, you've connected with your real estate agent, you're out there shopping, and hey, we landed a contract. So now what happens? Now a lender has to qualify you, actually go through the paperwork, look at the documentation, and be able to read your tax returns. Just so you know, if you're self-employed, we don't go off of your gross income, which would be great. We actually have to go off of the net income. So all of your expenses, all of your contract labor, your supplies, your office rent. Whereas other people are going to be W-2'd. It's a little bit different qualification. Just make sure that if you're out there and you're shopping, if you are working with a big online lender or a tech company, that you're working with somebody that's an expert. We find time and time again that they get all the way to the very end of the process, and then all of a sudden there's a problem 2 to 3 days, even the day before closing, and they say, hey, we're denying your loan. Could you imagine if that were you? That you've wasted 30 days. You've already told your landlord that you're renting, or you've sold your house, and then you got nowhere to go. Moving companies are showing up the next day, and we all got to panic. We got nowhere to go. Then what happens? You may be displaced in a hotel, or have to struggle to find a quick Airbnb. Why put yourself through that situation? So the biggest key is working with a local lender. For one, they are going to not only take your application, but they're going to go through all of the information, gather your name, your social, your date of birth, where you've lived for the last 2 years, where your employment. Do you have any employment gaps? Have you worked for the last 2 years, or did you get laid off? These are big things that can cause problems in a mortgage. Next, we talked about, the income piece that we've already looked at that already. Online lenders, if they've already sent you a quick pre-qualification, as soon as you click submit, you automatically got a pre-qualification letter right away. Well, do they even look at your credit report? There may be disputes, there may be derogatory collections that could cause problems. There may be a foreclosure or short sale or even a bankruptcy. These are all things that can delay and cause problems in a mortgage that you can't just send out a pre-qualification beforehand. You actually have to go through the process and look at every piece of the pie. And that's one reason why using a local lender is super important, because that's what they do. They're going to ask really important questions. Think about it. If you had a guy working at McDonald's or working at a local retail store, and all of a sudden they got their mortgage license, so they're brand new in the business, would you really trust that person? Our guidelines are about this thick, and I don't know exactly how many pages, but we have so many guidelines and so many different rules that are constantly changing on a daily basis. It's important that you work with a local expert that is in tune with these guidelines. We find it time and time again that even the builder lenders, they get stuck, and then at the very end they won't close on your loan. So we've seen that here lately. It's not fair to you to have that stress in your life. So it's super, super important that you work with a local lender and work with somebody that your realtor knows and they trust, because this whole process is a triangle of trust, and there's a reason why your realtor that you're working with has referred you to a local lender. They've vetted the lenders, they know them, they know their systems, they know their process, they know their team. They can reach them on the weekends, they can reach them in the evenings. So a good local lender is going to do that for you. So why not do that? 9 times out of 10, they're gonna have the same rates or even better. We're all playing from the same playing field as far as interest rates. So there's not one lender that's gonna be different from the next. So we're all playing from the same guidelines. We all have the same amount in a loan, and we're all playing from the same playing field. I'll give you an example. Got a call the other day. We're working with a buyer. We're actually working on a down payment assistance program with them. So with those programs, they have levels of assistance. So as the more assistance you get, the higher the rate. Well, we talked to the client, and the buyer wanted $10,000 out of pocket. He actually had the money to put down, so we could look at both options. Could we get him a lower rate? Yes. Or could we do the down payment assistance that wanted to fit his criteria? So it was more important for him to save that money. Well, as soon as he got that interest rate, yes, it was a little higher. We'd already previously discussed it. Well, he went to that online lender, and that online lender told him, hey, interest rate's 3.875%. Looked at the current market, and I was like, there is no way. I was like, this dude's gonna be hiding fees. So just be careful. These are things that you can find. Haven't seen the loan estimate yet, but I can tell you that on that estimate, I guarantee you that they're going to be charging $7,000 to $10,000 on this little $300,000 loan, because that loan was going to cost 3 points. Could you imagine having to pay $10,000 of unexpected costs as soon as you got under the contract because that online lender didn't explain that information to you? So these are hidden things that can cause problems and that you may not be aware of, that all you're focusing on is a online lender's interest rate. They're not showing you the hidden cost that can be behind that interest rate. So super important to pay attention to that. Pay attention to the closing costs, because those are things that are going to come up. They're going to cost you money that you may not be expecting. Lastly, a local lender is going to look at your profile, and they're going to go through everything and determine that you are in the right program for your family. They're looking at your financial needs. How much do you have cash to close? What's your credit score? What is your desired monthly payment? And looking at, hey, here's a couple different options, and here's what I think's best. They're gonna be able to break that down for you. Working with a local lender, lastly, is not only once we've gone through that whole pre-qualification process, they're gonna team up with your real estate agent. They're gonna work on getting you fully approved. Also, as a local lender, we like to call the listing agent. In this market, it's super crazy. We have competitive offers, so it's important that your local lender reaches out to your listing agents and talks to them about their file, and let them know that they have confidence that they're going to close, not only close, but close on time and close on budget, and make sure that you are fully aware of everything that goes on in the process. And it is imperative that you use a local lender. We'd love to work with you. If you have any questions, you can send us a message, but if you haven't liked and subscribed us, please smash that like and subscribe button. We appreciate your support. Stay tuned to next time.